It is a trunk train. It is.
All right. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the first California conference of 2021. Today's date is January 3rd, 2021, and this is the first Calexit conference of the year. Um, we have a nice full agenda for today. Um, started off with a little housekeeping. Um, Independent California, as over the holidays, really was not terribly active. We did a couple of meetings, a number of discussions, mostly about that might have to do with um, our efforts at letter writing campaigns and um, direct action in Sacramento. For those who have been interested in basically home activism, I'd like to schedule a meeting on that for sometime later, basically later in the week or the next couple of weeks. Um, please text me privately or let me know, and we'll proceed from there. Other than that, Independent California, as much of this was down with down with COVID, B, down with the holidays. So little, basically little progress was made. At that point, I'm ready to turn it over. I don't see Shankar for his report, and I'll relinquish the floor. Marcus.
Okay, let's go right to, well, we can come back to other people. Let's go to Jason. Jason's going to speak for a few minutes about reaching out to Scotland and ArtSoc with the specific purpose of getting them to have a embassy, aka really a cultural center, recognizing the Calexit movement. Jason, you have 5 to 10 minutes.
Alrighty, thank you. Yeah, so by now everyone's pretty familiar with the. Oh, first, how's my audio? Clean?
Good.
Okay. So by now everyone's familiar with the cultural centers and the purpose of how to these awesome videos Marcus has been doing to help spread the word and, the information needed to get more of these opening up around the world. Scotland has been showing signs for quite some time now that independence is coming soon. With the hard filing of Brexit, it is now official. It has taken effect.
Hey. Oh, thank you.
Tell us about your getup.
Well,
Matt, could you? Thank you.
Continue. He's muted.
Yeah. So Scotland's been showing signs for quite a while that it is going to go independent. Now that Brexit is not just finalized, but it is in effect, it is final now, right? That gives a mandate and a precedent for the people of Scotland in their pursuit of self-determination. And they are making it very clear, their current elected leadership is making it very clear that that is the route that they are pursuing, not are going to pursue someday. They are pursuing it now. This means that Scotland, having about 90-something% of its voting populace all in agreement about independence, all being part of the same party that's based on self-determination and true equality for the Scottish people, right? It's pretty much a guarantee that this is going to happen. We will see an independent Scotland, not just in our lifetimes, but actually rather soon. Not only that, the European Union, the EU, has made it abundantly clear that Scotland is more than welcome. Scotland has been reaching out to them for a while, but now very, very openly, very publicly reaching out to them about hey, we want to join the EU, rejoin now that we've been forcibly ripped away by England. So the embassy, the not an embassy, the California Cultural Center, right? California Cultural Center would be in Scotland. It would be Scotland's duty or choice or prerogative to open that. On the inverse scale, the Scottish Cultural Center of the independent nation of Scotland, or here in California, that's our prerogative, that's our duty, right? So we've been talking it over amongst Yes California leadership, and we are going to pursue this wholeheartedly to act first on opening up a Scottish embassy, or not an embassy, here in California for Scotland and for the Scottish people. Now, on that same note, ArtSoc. ArtSoc has heated up. It seems like it cooled down, but monitoring the airwaves very closely, I can safely tell you it has not actually cooled down. It is not going to be cool for some time. This means that the people of the Republic of Artsakh, which has already declared its independence through the Articles of Self-Determination, they really need international support. And because there are so many Armenians here in California, so many California Armenian Californians, we kind of owe it to our brothers and sisters to make sure that they feel safe no matter where they go, that they feel accepted and respected and valued no matter where they go. And, it's a mutual endorsement is a way that one could look at this, as far as us preemptively opening a cultural center for ArtSoc here in California on our own free will, with the hopes that they will then over there do the same for the independent nation of California. No matter what, we are going to move on both of those. And that's the update.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Jason? We got about 5 more minutes in this section if there's questions, or we can move on to Matt, whatever you all would like.
Questions?
Okay. We'll move on to Matt. We can always cover more talk about the embassies later. Matt Owens, I think you went, I think I'm going to want to offer you to have your next child. I'm really impressed with what you just did. Are you standing in front of the place you want to be an embassy right now, sir? You have to unmute yourself, Matt. Unmute. The new norm. Love it.
I think he was muted by host.
Hal,
Okay.
you have to.
Check.
There you go, Matt.
Hi.
Right on, brother.
Yes, I am. Well,
5 minutes. What's going on? What are you doing?
Well, okay. If I'm staying here in Palm Springs, not moving someplace else, this is behind me was the Cahuilla Cultural Museum of the Agua Caliente Reservation. Was. Okay. They're building a great big huge one. It's a block of, interesting architecture 1 block away from this one. Okay, you can't see it from here, but trust me, it's there. It's getting ready to open. So that begs the question, what to do with the former Agua Caliente Cultural Museum, okay, which is behind me. And there's also, I guess, some parts of it to my left. Well, I believe this They call it Village Green. It's got the oldest buildings here. Off to my right is the first Adobe. And then there's a house built of railroad ties. And the 1930s general store. This is where Palm Springs began, okay, in the non-indigenous sense. So the indigenous people made a point of incorporating their culture into this one. So inspired by the cultural missions that we are constructing other places, I'm thinking to myself, I'm thinking, this building is about to become available. If we can make this a joint project of Yes California, Return California, MIBC, anybody else is interested, the PACs, whatever, to contact the Historical Society and probably the reservation as well, since they were hosted here. But first and foremost, the Historical Society, I believe this is theirs, about opening a cultural mission to the sovereign Kawiya Nation, okay, promoting their sovereignty at the same time we promote, and in the same act as we promote ours, okay. And of course, you see our beloved flag here in front of me are the conventional U.S. and California state flags. And I don't know if they'll do this. What I would like to do is respectfully hand those back, return those to the Historical Society, and raise our flag here, underscoring, the full-size one, underscoring that this is part of the independent nation of Gran California. This would be the cultural mission of Gran California to the sovereign Kawiya Nation. Okay, the closest thing we have is an NGO to an embassy, like we're proposing for outside Scotland and all that sort of thing. That opens doors for the Scots, the Catalans, the Palestinians, the folks in Artsakh, etc., all struggling for their self-determination to open their cultural centers to the indigenous nations. That also encourages other indigenous nations to do the same elsewhere. Like I say, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be in Palm Springs. If I end up in Northern California, it would be Canyons people, the Ohlone, to whom we would be making the mission. If I end up in Baja, it would probably be to the Kumeyaay, a cultural mission to them. So it all depends on where I am ending up. But at the moment, I'm in Palm Springs, and you see a sterling opportunity right behind me, okay? A cultural center that is going to be replaced by something. Why not replace it with another cultural center? Our cultural center, the Gran California Cultural Center, with our flag flying proudly over it. That's my proposal.
Hot damn. Okay. Sue, you had a question?
Yeah, it's just actually a comment. Matt, let's start spreading the word that I'm going to start trying to do the same thing here in Northern California at SSU. And I'm totally open to working with those other teams as you will be there.
And you're on Pomo and also Miwok territory.
Yes.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yours would be a mission to them.
Yes.
Okay.
Do they have cultural centers in your area, the Miwok and or the Pomo?
I think so, yeah, but they're not really cultural centers, they're more like little museums.
Right.
And the closest one to me, I think, is in Novato. And they have like little powwows there.
Yeah, this is a museum that's being replaced by another museum.
Mhm.
Ours, we would show our promotional video, maybe in the window, big screen, and then portraits of our liberators on one
Right.
side, and our founding documents in the other, and then whatever literature we wanted to have pass out or petitions we're running on the inside.
Yeah, when risk of catching COVID is behind me, I'm gonna contact SSU and hope that they'll give me a little office or a little space in the library, maybe in the conference room of the library a few days a week, something like that. It may not be something permanent. I may have to set up each morning and take it down at the end of the day each day, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Something I'm going to
close to it.
propose. Something I'm
Yeah.
going to propose to the Historical Society here, because my housing situation is, shall we say, tenuous. Is if they could hire me as a living caretaker and have me stay right behind this, if there is a space, if it's, there's a bunch of ifs, but it is a proposal, which would help me stay here in Palm Springs rather than have to move to God knows where.
Okay, all right, thank you both. Question from Dan.
Not a question, a comment. I think you could also double as Smokey the Bear up there with that hat. I love the hat.
My beloved Afghanka.
You can keep the fires away with that.
Yes.
Just a comment.
Right. Smokey
Okay,
says, please don't prevent bears. Please don't prevent bears.
Okay, next is Hannah. She's not here, so we will come back to her. The next person is John Simha. John? Okay, John is, we'll come back to him.
Sorry, I was talking to myself. Damn mute feature.
Okay, John is going to talk about two topics back to back. If Hannah comes back, we'll let John finish one topic and then we'll go back to her. But right now it's John's time. Make a sim meeting room for the entire movement using a brand new technology hub that John has met personally with the app designer. There are two links. I'm going to repost them right now so you can take a look at what they are. There will also be a discussion, if you are interested, at 3 p.m. today. And I will repost the information. So if you like what John's saying, you can actually meet the designer at 3 p.m. today. John Simha, please tell us what's going on.
Is there any way that I can get a screen share? Can I get a co-host or something?
Give me one moment. Let me.
Thanks, Hal.
Let me see what I can do.
If you want, everybody, if you go to chat, there are links right now for what Gilded is and an example of using the Gilded platform. Those are in chat right now. You can click on those and look at them if you want.
Okay, let's see if I can do this and give it a. Let's see. All right, give it, John, if you'd like to give it a try.
Let's see. Yeah, there we go. All right. You all should be able to see this now. You should see 3 columns, one on the left with a search bar, the way forward, return California, and IDDA. Where you see the square around that lets you know that that's the server that we're in. And this is the server. These are all of the channels within the server. So what I envisioned for us is to have a server for California independence movement. That would be similar to the way forward. This server here would become a channel within the California independence movement server. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. So instead of the way forward here, it would say California independence movement. And then all of the different groups within the California independence movement would have their own channel. So you would have Yes California, you'd have Independent California, you'd have California National Party, you'd have Return California, you'd have MIBC. Those would all be these little icons down the side. Each one of those groups could facilitate their own channel within the CIM server. What makes this incredibly powerful is it's essentially a platform that allows you one space to store everything related to what we're working on. There's a place for proposals. where members can make proposals for something that they'd like to see. There's place for onboarding. There's a whole army of bots that you can program to do whatever you want. So if you have a new person that's interested in independent California, they would submit an application. The bot would filter through their application and determine where they should be placed within the movement. And then they would be given to another bot who would show them another application. So as people are involved and as people do certain things for the movement, they would unlock other possibilities within their channel, which would eventually give them access to more and more power. So if you're going to have an administrator or a forum moderator, all the people who are already in the movement that we all can vouch for because of all the work that we've done, they would already have positions in there. And so what's happening this afternoon is the builder of the Way Forward server is going to walk everyone in the group through what this platform is capable of. So I don't want to do double duty, and I don't want to bore anyone that's not interested in this. You'll be able to check in on that conversation later this afternoon. The potentiality of this thing is unbelievable. It's basically like Zoom and Slack and Google Drive and all these other platforms that we use all in one spot. So we can do our meetings within the server. We can communicate with one another in the server. We can create coalitions. We can do crossover. So like what you see on this channel here, you see the little California flag. That is the California version of the Way Forward platform. So Way Forward is what Movement for a People's Party split has become. So that party advertised itself as a party for the people with a horizontal democratic structure, and they reneged on that. A lot of people were like, well, this is a top-down organization. All of these little committees and groups that have been working on things are just being ignored. They made a petition. The executive council of MPP basically ignored their petition. And so they split off and started this new group. And you can see there are 56 members in this gilded platform, and it just started today. It came from the Discord server that was the fallout from MPP. The Discord server is still serving as kind of a petition platform for people that still would like to see MPP succeed. The people who are going in their own direction are now on this gilded server, and we're doing the same thing. So I'd really like to encourage everybody on the call to experiment with this platform, to see its capabilities, and to join the conversation at 3 if it's possible. You can see there's a calendar in here. So it's a one-stop shop for everything related to the California independence movement. You'd be able to go in there and see what groups are doing what. You participate in conversations with the different people, organize, create polls, recruit people, have a place for all your media, all the social media, everything that you need is all stored in one place. And depending on your accessibility, you can have access to all of it. So that's the basic part of it. Do y'all have any questions about that before I'm finished?
Sounds very, very promising.
It's an incredibly powerful tool, and the ability to organize and to allow people to find their niche, and really figure out where they want to dedicate their energy, it is really, really powerful.
John, are
Could
we
I
still
say
members?
one?
Say that again, Daniel.
Sorry, are we still members? Because we had joined, Marcus and I, and
Yeah, that's what I was showing you.
I don't even remember what my password and stuff was. So.
If you see here, I set it up as Return California server because I'm not going to take any liberties with CIM. I think that's a group effort, and what I'd like to see is California Independence Movement here as a server, and then all of the groups within the movement have their own channel, and with the channels can be customized based on the leadership of those organizations and what they would like to present. So you can have your mission statement, your points of unity, your executive committee, whatever you want to present to the public right there front and center. And then people who are involved as members will unlock certain potentials as they get credibility, as other members vote for them, as however you want to structure your organization would be how your server would be structured. And then all of us would be, your channel, all of us would dictate what the server would look like. And Mags has agreed to help us. So if we wanted to design a server complete with all the channels for all the different organizations, we are accepting proposals from anyone and everyone in our group who is interested in exploring this. And really, it's just a practice exercise for what we're gonna see. What would happen right now if something one of those groups did went viral and we had hundreds of thousands of people trying to get involved? What would happen? Hundreds of thousands of people would come into a space that has no place for them. If you have this set up, then anyone who's interested in volunteering can find their own way. Look through all the stuff that's there, see what conversations are being had, and find the place that they feel most welcome. And so that's really what I'd like to see, and I hope all y'all are supportive of this. I don't know why you wouldn't, but I'm happy to field any questions or concerns y'all have.
So John, it's basically the way, I only know a little bit of it. It's basically kind of like what the CIM website is structured, but this is for all information. It's like, if you go to the CIM, it'll have, CNP, it'll have Yes California, it'll have that, and going to the different website. This is a way of the same structure, but for communication, basically.
Yeah, that's right. If someone goes to the CIM website, they can get lots of information. They can learn all about the movement and what parts there are, who's involved, all that stuff. But if they want to get involved, they have to fill out a contact form. They have to email someone or submit a contact, and then they have to wait for a response. If on the contact page, there was a link to the CIM server on Gilded, and they go on to Gilded and they see CIM, then they see all the different channels that are available, and they're like, oh, what is Independent California all about? They click on the server, and it opens up, and you have all of the things listed. You have their events, you have the history, you have the documents, the social media, the media that they've received, like all that stuff is in one place. There's a chat forum. There's a place for new members. All these things are there, and we don't have to do anything. The bots will do everything that we want them to. So really our imagination is the only limit to what this platform can accomplish. Sue, did you have a question? You're muted.
I was just wondering if I ask you for permission, can I have a channel later when I'm ready to start working on setting up my cultural center?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the cultural center would I mean, we already have a platform for that on the Return California channel.
Okay,
The cultural centers are there for all the indigenous nations, and those are all listed out. So no matter what walk of life someone comes from, when they log on to the Gilded server, they can see themselves represented.
I don't know how to get the
So
fuck out of here either.
if you're an indigenous person and you see a place for indigenous people on the server, that's going to be welcoming. If you're someone with a physical disability and you see a place for ableism, then you're going to feel welcome. If you're Hispanic or Latinx or Chicano or LGBTQ or whatever, there's a space for you, and it's occupied with people who have the same concerns you do. And that makes people feel welcome, and they'll be more inclined to stay and get involved.
Okay. Very good, very good. 3 p.m. meeting. We can come back to this and talk about it some more. John, no one was bored. Everybody loved it. And it seems to scream organizing for chapters. I mean, Hal had the bylaws. He had training videos and reaching out to collect signatures. He had discussions on meetings. I mean, it screams to me like, here's your training. How did you click the signature? Here's the bylaws on running a chapter, and all the discussions would be there. Information everyone in SIM would like to have. But let's go to Hannah next. We can come back to all these subjects. Want to make sure everybody gets a chance. I just posted to everyone in the group. Hannah made the first video of the California History Channel. It is in chat right now. You can watch that whenever. Hannah, what's going on with the project?
Muted, Hannah.
She's
Plugging
she's
in.
not muted.
Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
muted anymore.
Hannah, what's going on with the project?
I'm not muted anymore, right?
Nope.
Well, so I put up I emailed everyone out a link to the 99%, 95% completed video. This will be the introduction video. It's 12 minutes long, and it will really give you an idea of, mostly what I did is I explained to the general audience, what's this California War project going to be about, reminding them it's 175 years ago. Yeah, that's it. It's 175 years ago since the war happened. Showed them a lot of paintings and other illustrations that I found, not just on the web, but in photographs I'd taken myself. And you know, inviting people to participate, to like this channel. And I should mention that, you know, I've sent an email. So did y'all do now is just put captions on the bottom so people know, give credit to where it's due. And also I think it's really helpful to people because they always want to know, wow, I didn't know that existed. And I'd like to know where I could find more information about that. That's why you put captions on stuff. Oh, it's got my subtitles on there. This is automatic subtitling, guys. You'll notice I can chroma key now.
I don't know what that means.
You know, when I'm standing there, I'm actually standing behind this green backdrop, and I'm able to chroma key, so I can put any background I want in the background.
That's super cool.
Oh yeah. And yeah, this is a video I shot of my own. This is an example of a picture I took myself. And frankly, all I'm going to tell you now is this is happening. I've been doing some research. If the advice I'm getting is that if we have 35 videos up, we should have 100,000 subscribers. That's a reasonable thing. That's why I said it's reasonable for us to get 1 million subscribers. And if half of those 1 million subscribers are already interested in California independence, that's 500,000 people. And then you can get an initiative whenever the time is right by literally probably just not much more than falling off a log, right? Because you go up the names, the people, the money. So that's why I want to encourage everyone who, even if you don't have the skills, this might really be something that maybe you want to do out. There are grandmas and grandpas who are making videos on YouTube, and they're actually making an income from it. So I personally went to my community college, and I learned all about. I took classes in video. You can go to community college and very inexpensively get classes on video editing, on music editing, whatever you want. This is all done with Adobe Premiere Pro, After Effects, and Illustrator.
Yeah, this would be
that's basically.
This would be perfect. This would be super perfect to have a channel within the CIM Gilded server as a one-stop shop for all these videos, and it could be linked to YouTube if that's important to you. But it also could be just hosted right there in our platform, so no one has to go to an external link. They can just watch the video right in the Gilded server.
I'm not sure the Gilded server will support streaming video. That's a lot of. Anyways, I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Well, you don't have to utilize it if you don't like
Because,
it, but the option is there.
Well,
I'm
only talking about it strategically, John, because after all, YouTube is the channel. The more, the YouTube algorithm really cares how many views the video gets. It wants to know likes. It wants to know comments. It wants to have shares. Mostly it wants likes, subscriptions, and comments, and views. And if you get more views, get people then it will actually promote your video essentially to other people. You think about it all the time. You're wondering, why is this video being suggested to me? Well, it's because your previous interest showed that this video was like what you're interested in. I don't knock anyone down just for the sake of it. I'm always thinking strategically. And strategically, we had a YouTube presence. We're gonna be in real good shape, I think.
For
and
sure.
This is something that I think everyone can literally. I'm willing to work. My main focus I want to be working on is the script writing, and the collecting the information. But yeah, there's so much research. Bancroft's histories alone must be around 7,000 pages, a very small print. And that's a definitive source of information on the history of California. All the books you buy about history of California generally quote from Bancroft. If you actually read, if they actually source the material, you'll actually see they're actually citing Bancroft. So go read Bancroft. It's like I want to take the Bible, and there are other sources. Like one my things I discovered, I found digitized the unpublished memoir of Pio Pico, because he wrote one in the 1880s, but it's in Spanish and it's in handwriting. So you'd have to go and read Spanish handwriting to be able to translate that. But I think those are the kind of cool things we're doing. So yeah, 2 minutes, but I think, Jason says YouTube algorithm is actually all about total view time. Not really. And particularly, because I already had one comment that said the video is going by too fast. But actually, if people will stop it and pause it or even watch it again, these are actually things that improve the statistics. I mean, yeah, obviously the YouTube algorithm is a private thing, but what we know about it constantly changes. But what we know about it is, yes, I know, Jason, we're not trying to monetize this thing. What we're trying to do is get people to subscribe, get likes, because after all, I'm not trying to, I mean, also the Patreon page, by the way, Marcus has already started donating money, and these are monthly contributions that people can put in. And I mentioned in the video that I can use this for, well, everything, but not the least of which paying editors. That would give me more time, because what you're seeing is the work of around, let's see, I started on the, I think I started on 26th of January, towards December. So you're literally looking at, this is important actually. Let me just see a quick look. When did I start this son of a bitch? Yeah, December 26th. You're literally looking at several weeks of work. So that, now I don't want to spend that much, but obviously if you're going to try to a week by week thing, you really want to get the work done out, in 5 days. I'm not going to get anything quality out in 5 days by myself. But if you guys help me and get involved, even if you don't have the skills, you can learn them, and it'll be great for your career, because there's a lot of people who, you can do this on your own stuff, or at least promote the work, or at least watch it yourself and comment on it and like it. All these things.
Hannah, I dug it. I think you're right.
Yeah,
that
Shankar, did you see yourself in it?
I thought it was awesome. I want to post it up on all our Facebook pages. I thought it was scrolling by a little fast now that you mentioned it, because where did you get all those pictures? That was quite impressive, Hannah. I really like it. So I'm gonna, when I'm not driving, I'm gonna definitely watch the entire video. But good job.
Yeah, you're in it, by the way.
I'm in it.
Where'd I get all the pictures? Like I said, they're on they're on historical websites and things. KCET has a really good channel called Lost LA, which
Right.
has a lot of groovy stuff. But some of it came from the most amazing things. I went to the Monterey Museum and I took photographs. So those a lot of the work is my own work.
Oh, I see.
And then,
Can
some of
I
it just came from the most bizarre places.
on that note, I don't want to change the agenda of the
Shankar?
meeting, but I wanted to ask everybody about historical landmarks. I don't know when we'll have time for that, Marcus. If you could just note it down for later on.
Sure, I'll add you to the agenda, Shankar. Historical landmarks. Got it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. I personally support this project a lot, and I think all of you do too, at least conceptually. We as a movement for the last year figured out they don't let us know our fucking history. And my niece is lied to. Your kids are lied to. Your children in California, lied to. They're told State Ascension Day, that's what it's called. State Ascension Day is a great day, and Californians just revolted against Mexico, and then other Americans came in, and it was parties and happiness, and all lies. Fucking lies. And so Hannah put together a video. But Matt really started a lot of this looking into it. Hannah's just taken it to the next logical conclusion where it's at. And I totally recommend everybody working with Hannah on this or supporting the concept in general. Here's the key thing. I don't have video editing capability, but I know how to write a script and put 3 references in it and do a Google search for images. I just did 80% of making the next video. Feel me? There's the technical editing, and then there's I was talking to Hannah while she did this. Most of her time was getting it together. I want to write this story. Do I have my facts straight? Double checking facts, getting sources together, double checked. Oh, here's the script, editing the script, and then finding photos that were accurate. I know all of you can do that, like now. So everything we don't have a story for, we need, it's literally not done. And as you know, our movement, SIM, has gotten very far by following a simple philosophy I was talking to some of you about recently. If we don't have nothing, let's get something out. There's nothing on the accurate history of California, almost. There's no one talking about how people are being lied to. So this is absolutely something we should all get behind. However, and writing scripts and making little history videos is 80% of the work. So we're going to go to John. We can come back to this subject. John's going to
Can I make one last point, Hannah? Marcus?
Sure.
Marcus, can I make one last point?
Yes.
I just like to remind everybody that this video, when you watch the introduction, I try to make clear intentionally that this is intended to be history from the perspective of Californians. And I don't quite say it, but I literally, but if you can imagine what would Pio Pico say if he were alive today? What would Jose Martinez, say today, that is when I'm trying to point out that history, after all, is just a matter of who's writing it, right? So there's the U.S. Army version of it, and and then Marcus was talking about the accession day, version of it, and then this is just the California version of it. And so if you look at it from that perspective, I'm not going out and making a big editorial. I'm just presenting a viewpoint that doesn't get presented, and I think that's a very important distinction to make.
It is. Okay, we're going to go to John. Thank you, Hannah. We can come back. Want to make sure everybody gets a chance. John's going to talk for about 5 minutes. He talked on the subject a little bit, but he's going to summarize. There's the Bernie Sanders group, and then it's split, and then that's split. And I want to remind everybody, the reason that we're so interested in Bernie Sanders supporters is the same reason why we spend time with WildStar. We're willing to work with anybody where they're willing to listen to our message, so we can grab members from that movement and pull them into ours. That's what this is about. You don't have to believe in Bernie Sanders. You don't have to believe in WildStar, or you don't have to believe in BLM, although I think most of you do. It's about getting members and making connections. Hal taught me that. John, what's going on? What you doing, brother? What opportunities coming around the corner?
I touched on it a little bit already. I don't want to take any more of the group's time. Basically, the Draft Bernie movement, which became a movement for a People's Party, became the revolution within. MPP still exists. You can join their Slack channel. There's actually hundreds of thousands of people that are involved with MPP around the United States. But a lot of those people are becoming disillusioned by what's happening within that organization because it's not what they signed up for. They wanted a major new party to challenge the power structures of the Democrats and the Republicans. And what they're seeing is that MPP is basically doing the same thing that our revolution did. And it's hierarchical, top-down governance, and people are done with that paradigm. People want something where they feel like their voice is heard and what they're asking for is being delivered. So there's a huge disconnect from actual leftists and the corporate duopoly. When people refer to Democrats as left, I always get a little chuckle because there's nothing left about the Democrats. They're just as beholden to corporate interests as the Republicans. But the major energy behind Bernie's campaign that was gutted by this absurd system that we're stuck in is out there looking for something that speaks to them. And I'm very confident that the work that we've been doing in the independence movement is that energy. And I believe that if people actually understood what we're trying to do, that it would be incredibly popular with actual leftists. And I also believe that the last Rasmussen poll made it pretty clear that a majority of Californians support independence. And if my efforts in gathering signatures for this initiative are any indicator, that number is much higher than the Rasmussen poll indicated. And you could even see it in the language of the Rasmussen poll, like when they described the results of the poll, they tried to underreport it. The way that they worded it and everything made it clear that they weren't trying to indicate to people how popular this thing really was. And I think the numbers, the poll is 2017, is that right, Marcus? 2018? Yeah, so I think we're further along now than we were then. And I think with the right messaging and the right ability to field people that come into the movement, we can do a lot. So thank you all.
I want to repeat again, we're not ideological. If you believe that California will be better independent, making decisions on ourselves, you're in. But we have to work with others. And we have to show that we are at least trying to do this with all Californians. Also, we want to grow. I've been watching, I told you all, and I'm just saying this, I was never a Bernie Sanders supporter. He was a little bit too radical leftist for me. But I say that because I also point out he won the primary by far here in California. So whether you like Bernie or you don't really like him like me, he beat everybody by 10 to 12, 14 points here. There is no question. This is the majority of California voters are Democrat. When asked to choose between Biden and Bernie, they overwhelmingly by 10 to 13 points pick Bernie. So that's just a hard reality. There's a lot of people here. They are becoming disillusioned. I've been watching John on this path. Okay, we're going to make our own MPP party. Oh, that's a sellout. Oh, we got to make another party. Oh, we got to make another party. And then John finally went out to 6 of them and goes, you ready to stop believing America works and join Calexit? And they said, we're getting there. So these people are moving into our camp. Don't have to like Bernie. It's a good way to get followers. We'll leave it there. Come back to it. Okay,
yeah.
Moving on.
Before you move on, Marcus, I posted a link to an article that is very informative. I put it in the chat there, and it's especially pertinent to what we're dealing with in Calexit. It's happening less frequently, but people are still talking about how Russia is supporting, Calexit. And my response to that is really simple. Everyone who is upset with the United States and their history of jingoism and imperialism on the global stage is supportive of Calexit, because they understand that if California gets its independence, that the United States will be kneecapped. And anybody who doesn't like the United States is going to support that. So if Russia supports it, great. If Iran supports it, great. If North Korea supports it, great. The more support we have, the better. Friends close, enemies closer. So that's all I got to say.
Okay, we're going to move on to 2 panel discussions. We're not done. We have to get to refiling the initiative and the next initiative. Coyote Marin, I'm saying his name in Spanish, reached out to me. So there's some good stuff to talk about that. So we're going to have 2 discussions. They should not go forever because there's more to talk about, but I want to make sure we have a thorough debate. I've already talked to Hal about this. I've talked to a couple other people in leadership. So we're going to have panel discussions. Don't have to agree. Everybody can offer their opinion. The first discussion we want to have is, do we have a debate hosted by Sim, maybe, or yes, whatever, where we interview and have a debate amongst all the recall candidates. When I talked with Hal, there were some, he was open to the idea, but he had some prerequisites, which I completely agreed with. So that's I, C, and yes, completely agree. Number one, we are not backing recall. We are not to appear as though we are backing recall. We are simply saying that we recognize Californians are interested in this topic and we have to be open to whatever they want to talk about. So we are providing an information service. We are not endorsing a thing. We would have a set of questions that all of the candidates would have to answer. We would design those questions and they would not be soft pillow questions. So it's a real debate. I mean, you're going to get in here and I don't like Newsom. Well, you better explain yourself. So harsh questions, but fair. We will also invite the governor and we will also have someone speak, and Hal was looking at this, but it could be someone of why this is a bad idea. So yeah, we'll have recall candidates. We're also going to have somebody going, this is dumb and we shouldn't even do it. But then explain why, why this is a waste of time. How come this isn't good? And then we will have the recall candidates explain in their words why it is. So we're presenting both sides. It's fair. We're not taking a stance. We're presenting information. That was at least the concept. I'm going to turn it over and we'll just go around, give your two minutes. Let's start with Sue. Concerns, questions, thoughts. You don't like that idea. You think it should be done X way. Sue, what are you thinking?
I totally agree with Hal. I think he had an awesome point that we should be the group that's seen to be providing this forum for all Californians to express their opinions. We need to be that group. We're the group of Californians for Californians and by Californians. And Hal was absolutely right about that.
Okay. Hal, I'll come to you last. You usually have something nice. I'm just going in order of what I can see. Daniel. We'll get to everybody. Daniel Costa, do you have any comments?
This thing, okay, got it. Yeah, we kind of talked about it with you, Marcus, but the rest of the group wasn't here. I think it's a good idea to have a platform for everyone. My only question would be, do you think you could get all these candidates and Newsom to come to one of these conferences? Do we have contacts like that? I mean, is that even a possible thing to be able to get all these people in one conference?
We'll come back to that question. I noted it. Good point. Shankar has a question. Shankar, Dan, I got your comment down.
Okay.
Yeah, listen, my phone's about to die too, guys. I don't know if my phone will be up, but so I need to know information. Anybody have any experience on filing for a historical landmark in a city? So there's a business here that's been here over 30 years. It's world famous. We wanted to try to qualify for a historical landmark as a historical landmark. Has anyone done that work as far as like the reporting for the city council or the county to it? If anybody can give me any feedback on that, that'd be great. I think it's a great way of IC also promoting us Californians. So that was that. I also have another thing, but I'll write an email to you guys about it. It's quite extensive. So
we can come back to another subject.
If anybody knows about historical landmarks, please contact me.
Yeah, we can come back to another subject. I do need to point out that this idea was originally Jason von Trader's. It was just developed in conversation with others, but Jason was the one that said, hey, we should get out in front of this and get the media, and I completely agree. If you are talking about it when everybody else is, who cares? You want to be noticed, you got to be up front before they do it. And we are not in the position to go, oh, look at us when everybody else is talking. We need to be seen as articulate and insightful. That means we have to jump on things before the rest of the media and anyone else picks up on it. That's the way we win. So good call to Jason. Let's go to Darren. Darren, thoughts on the idea?
Yeah, it sounds great. I don't know, this is a little bit off topic, but it's kind of related to the video project. I'm just starting to get up a podcast, more to put episodes of the video series to drive traffic to it, but I also wanted to include maybe interviews with people or recordings of previous speeches or commentaries people have given. Just kind of a platform for any information that current events people want to get out. So I know that wasn't kind of what you were asking, but
It's a good project. It's a good project. What do you feel about the debate? Are you horrified by the idea? Are you open to it?
I just think it's important that we not, like you said, that we just appear that we're not taking sides on one side or the other as far as the recall, because there are people that have legitimate reasons on either side, for or against, and I think if you come across as taking one, appearing to favor one side, could be I don't know, could be a turnoff. So I think it's important to look objective.
Okay. John Simha.
What's that?
Thoughts, feelings on a recall debate in the way that we said, based upon the protocol, how suggested?
Yeah,
Good idea, bad idea?
Yeah, I like the idea. I think any conversation that's going to bring various perspectives to the table and give legitimacy to our efforts for independence is valuable. I don't know how much anyone within the power system would engage with it, because I think it would be political suicide. But a lot of people on the fringes would probably be involved. And I don't know if any of you recall, but one of our community members here in Nevada County just announced her campaign for the governorship. So with the right proposal, I think that she would become engaged, because she's already committed political suicide on numerous occasions. So I'm sure she would embrace doing it again. She has no intention of winning the race. She just wants to bring her policies to the mainstream, and thinks that the run for governor would do that for her.
Who is that person?
I still can't tell you her name because of my association. I've signed a non-disclosure agreement, but she actually hired one of the advisors for Return California, one of the indigenous advisors. So we're going to be able to announce it very soon, and I'm champing the bit. I can't wait.
Okay, Hannah Miyamoto. Thoughts, feelings? You're on mute, or I can't hear anything, Hannah. Can't hear you.
Sorry, I have
There,
two mute
now we can
buttons.
hear you.
I have
Yes,
one
now
on
we can hear
screen,
you.
I have one in my hand. Okay, I'm with Daniel. I think that's a real problem. You don't have the, you don't have the right people. I think at best, if you're not going to get Newsom himself, then I suggest getting someone who can represent the position of no on recall. Whether that's a spokesperson for Newsom, or whether it's simply a neutral person who can, present it. I want to say that I think there's a real problem, because can you imagine what's going to happen if we have to have a recall every year or something like that? Look at the law. It takes you get a recall petition through, some millionaire shows up with a bunch of money, pays a bunch of street people to go out and collect signatures. 80 days after that, you have an election. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have chaos in this state, because this becomes a way to get fringe candidates to actually become governor, number one, because after all, you'd only, in theory, you'd only need them you could have 10, 15% of the vote and you become governor. And you get fringe candidates, and then we don't have the fact that we elect people The recall petition system was created for in the days of the progressive era to deal with abusive officials. And if we if it just if we just have we might as well just have a governor with a 1-year term and be done with it and have a election every year, because that's what we're headed for. And Republicans, I think, really deserve a slap in the face and a punch in the throat to be doing this to our state. Well, I'm saying that rhetorically, but I'm saying that
I don't support
that's
violent
why I've
language
suggested
ever
we
on
need
any
to have,
occasion.
I said to myself is that we need to have I think we need to figure out some way to basically scare Republicans into not doing this anymore. I don't, if you've got they have not expressed any viable, reasonable reason to recall Newsom. As far as and then it's just, well, you can vote. Yeah, but we already did vote. And we're going to keep voting every year now at this rate, or maybe twice a year. And it's like, what's the point anymore? And that's what you have to do, just to keep the guy you already voted in. That's what I'm trying to get at here, right? So I think that's I think it's a fundamental issue that goes far beyond Mr. Newsom. And I know the fact is that only 2 governors in history in the United States have ever been recalled. So, but one of them was Gray Davis. And Gray Davis was pulled out large, not insignificantly, because people didn't like his position against racism, because he opposed Prop 187. And that's the kind of thing that we get into. I think from a policy perspective, I think recall of this nature is a very bad thing. I don't want to remove the recall law. I just sort of want to create an ethic that says we don't even start recall petitions unless you've got a really valid reason to recall somebody. There should be widespread. Because remember, Newsom is 54% even among independents in California. So who the hell is going to recall this guy? There's no desire to recall. There's no mass upswell, groundswell to recall this man at all. Because after all, he's keeping us safe from COVID. So that's all I gotta say. I just saying that I think that there's a bigger issue than just Newsom or some Green Party candidate or some Republican.
Okay. Matt, thoughts, feelings? You have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Here we go. Check. Okay.
Yes,
First of all,
we
I
can hear
think
you.
we certainly found our person to speak against the recall, haven't we? And she speaks against it on principle, which is always the best. So we have our person to speak against the recall. She just did.
Good point.
Secondly, on the other hand, if we want to pull in people into debate, I know where we go to do it. On the 20th, on the West Capitol steps, there's going to be a gathering of third and independent party people who are doing a contra inauguration, if you would. It's the day of the inauguration. They're doing the contratone. It's being hosted by combat veterans as a anti-war thing, but they see themselves as drawing in third party and independent people and candidates, including my tiny party, Peace of Freedom, including Greens, maybe even independent, and certainly libertarians. So that's going to be happening. And that is our chance to show, okay? That is our chance to go to them and says, hey, we want to host these debates. Let's do this, okay? As well as making the strongest possible case for as many of them as possible to join our independence movement. They'll be making the case. They'll be setting the table with their objections, their counter inauguration. They'll be setting the table. All it remains for us to do is put the stuff on that table that they're setting for us. So I urge anybody who can to be in Sacramento on the 20th and to promote this debate, right? To promote California independence and whatnot. Okay, I think it will be exceedingly productive. Little parenthetical note to Shankar on the historic building. If it does get historic status, look at what's behind me. It's an historical building. There is, an opportunity to maybe put a Grand California cultural mission to whatever indigenous nation that historical building is on. End of parenthetical note.
What are you on? What are you in front of? Sorry, Matt. What are you in front of?
I'm in front of the former Agua Caliente Cultural Museum. It's now one block over and it's huge, right? They're just finishing the touches on that. This become behind me. Well, I'm figuring out what to do with. Why not approach the Historical Society and the Agua Caliente Reservation about making this our cultural mission to them, to their sovereign nation? Well, the building that Shankar is looking at, why not found another cultural mission to whoever the indigenous people are of that
Okay.
area.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I want to keep the discussion focused on one thing because people will
Yeah,
watch
it's
this.
just
Right.
video.
Yeah. The debate.
So
Right.
we can keep the.
Just
Matt,
wanted
do you
that
have
point
further-
information.
Okay, Matt, do you have
Point
further
information.
comments about the recall?
But yeah, on the recall,
One more
like
minute,
I say, we're gonna have a huge opportunity come the 20th to talk to the very folks we want to talk to bring people forward to do the debate, okay? As well as just a general, place to make the strongest possible case for our independence. So, like I say, I urge us all to be up there on the 20th if we can, weather and finances permitting, as always, and COVID and all that. It's going to be huge, and we can, like I say, it can turbocharge what it is we're trying to do here.
Okay, thank you, Matt. I believe the last two people to speak are Jason and Hal. Am I incorrect? All right, let's go to Jason. Jason, comments about the recall debate?
Yeah, I was gonna first ask Matt real quick that thing on the 20th. Do you happen to know by chance, is that Veterans for Peace?
I believe so. They said that is, yeah, I believe it is Veterans for Peace. And they,
Awesome.
went out of their
I've
way
been
to
a
invite
part of
people
that
from
for
certain
quite a
independent
while.
parties.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's get
Thank
back
you.
to the recall thing, please.
Um,
Comments on recall,
so-
please.
So my standing on recall in general, my principle is that, whether I'm for this one or against this one isn't the issue. What it is that the power of the people to recall their commander-in-chief, because that's what Gavin Newsom is. He's governor and commander-in-chief of California. 2 titles, 1 job. Our ability to recall him is what keeps us safe from not just him personally, but any potential tyrant that might sit in that office. So whether we like it or not, this is a process of true democracy in its purest form. If the people decide that they want to recall him, then that is what the people have decided. That's not on any one person to, so philosophical debate all aside, for the actual recall debate, my whole thing is this. My projection is that this thing has gained so much momentum in so short a time, it very likely will happen that there will be a race. I don't know if, Gavin Newsom will retain his seat or not. I don't know. I can't honestly project that one. I do know I have my personal feelings about, while I'm personally struggling on the streets without a job, living on food stamps, $174 a month for food, when everything has tripled in price for food. So that that gives me 1 week of food out of every 4 or 5, depending on what month it is, right? And there's Gavin Newsom going to French Laundry, having a dinner on the taxpayers, one of whom is me. Before I lost my job and everything, I done paid my tax. I don't have children, so I don't claim children. It keeps my taxes easy. But it also means that I pay a lot in. And so I have my personal feelings on it. That all aside, if we do this, yes, it is awesome to hear that we are in agreement that, neutrality is a must. Hannah, you definitely sound like the pro-Calexit anti-recall position. I think that we have an opportunity to help guide this thing to make sure that there's a pro-Calexit pro-recall, pro-Calexit anti-recall, anti-Calexit pro-recall, anti-Calexit anti-recall, right? Have all of the positions covered, right? Let everyone have their say, and let the people, because all we're going to do is provide a conduit for information, and we want all of the information. If we ask one person a question, we ask them all a question. Why are we going to invite Gavin Newsom? Because he would be a candidate too, unless he decides not to run. If he gets recalled and decides not to run for it, that's an abdication, right?
1 more minute, Jason, okay?
Okay, yeah, that's different. And then, yeah, I guess we wouldn't invite him. But chances are he would, in this case, he would run to retain his seat, which means he would be a candidate, which means out of due respect, one, for our current governor and commander-in-chief, no matter whether we like him or not, and this coming from the guy who just talked about his own harsh feelings, right? We would owe it to him to invite him. It wouldn't make sense not to. Now, the probability of him showing up, low, unless there are 60 people who filed, including him, and 59 of them have agreed, or 50 of them have agreed to attend this series and, discuss the key issues of California. So,
Okay, thank you, Jason. Really appreciate that. Joe Payne, thanks for coming out. We're having a debate on if we should host a debate on recall candidates. If you'd like to make a comment, you have 2 minutes. If you don't, we're going to move on to another panel discussion after we hear from Hal. Would you like to comment, Joe? Don't have to, but you can.
So where is this debate going to be?
We don't have any details worked out. We're simply debating, should the movement have a debate of recall candidates and invite Governor Newsom and have somebody say why having a recall is a bad idea, with a series of standard questions amongst all candidates, showing why it's a bad idea and letting people speak in their own. Would it even be a good idea in general for us to do that? That's what we're debating now. Thoughts, feelings?
Yeah, this is something that the PAC could host, possibly. I don't see this as a bad thing.
Okay, thanks, Joe. All right, let's go to Hal.
All right. After some discussion within IC, I'll state the standpoint that we would take. First off, there is a fine line here. That fine line goes from a California values standpoint. We tend to back things like inclusion and equal rights and the things that self-determination, how our taxes are spent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. getting involved in individual campaigns, political campaigns, is usually not a winner of an idea. So from that standpoint, ensuring that equal voices, an opportunity for equal voices exist, is really the only ground we can stand on this. If we were to have if we were to host this debate, it would be basically, it's one of those to give these people an opportunity to have a place to speak, where they apparently are not being given one anywhere else. If we were to do this, we would need to do this in a formal style, as any other debate would be. I would caution the entire movement that we would need to be seen as ultimately neutral on this topic. Neither supporting nor basically slamming it. So my official stance and IC's official stance would be that, yes, hosting this with as though we were seeing it on CNN, or if we were seeing it on MSNBC or any of the others, we would need to do it with a moderator, with set piece questions. These questions should be hard. They should not be softball questions. I mean, as it sits right now, anybody who can come up with a website and a list of grievances can basically launch a recall the governor. That's legally, as a freedom, that's to be supported. Logically, it's kind of ridiculous. It's like we run the risk. I mean, we can show support for, say, the Libertarian Party on this, but at the risk of alienating the Democratic Party, I think in California, it would be hard to find a risk reward where there's a plus for the movement. It's like, long story short, it's like, if we say we believe in flags for orphans, no one's going to get mad at us on this and yell at us.
Hopefully future site of the
I'm going to mute yourself for a moment. Flags for orphans. The belief that human beings all have rights. These blanket statements are not controversial. We support these things. These are California values. They're California values because it seems the United States has forgotten them. But Independent California is a 501c4. We don't campaign for candidates. We're not here to campaign for candidates. We would be here to promote, to basically allow for the exchange of ideas only. I agree, generally speaking, I have to say, I agree with Hannah on this. It's like, in some ways, it's like I've gone to the recall sites, and I will make one comment. And believe me, that's a lot for me on these things, especially in a public forum. The same people who are very angry about Newsom going to a restaurant are the same people who are anti-mask and insist on going to restaurants. Oh, we can't. How dare he go to what we are demanding he open up California to allow?
I think they're upset more about the hypocrisy than the fact that he's doing what they want to do.
Yes.
He's telling everybody what to do and then not doing it himself.
Right,
So
but
that's the issue.
But coming from a standpoint of, well, how dare he go do what we demand he allow us to go do? That's also hypocrisy. So we need to walk this fine line. If we are to do it, I would task all of you. I mean, Marcus is the obvious choice to host. To sit in the chair in the suit and tie, and to with the microphone in front of him, reading the questions off and demanding that people give equal time. Because you don't want me doing it. I would task everyone here and everyone within the movement to come up with real questions for these guys. And my basic question is, okay, so you're going to recall Governor Newsom. How is that going to make stuff better? Because if it's not going to make it better, why are we talking? That's my time. I will yield the floor back.
Okay, that was good. Just
Could
wanted
I
to see where
say-
everybody's at. I'm sorry,
Could
Jason?
I say one quick thing? Is that I think pertinent questions like that can highlight certain aspects are going to be key. I think you're right on that. I would also stress that not everyone who feels this certain way about this certain issue feels that way because of the same reasons. I have been not going out. I have been not, before the stay at home thing started back in March, right around my birthday, I chose to not go out. And that's because I understand enough of microbiological sciences to know, it's what's kept me safe. I wear my mask freaking everywhere. When I'm standing in line at 7-Eleven and they call the dude up behind me and the counter is only like 2 feet wide, right? So obviously he's going to be shoulder to shoulder with me. I walk away. I walked out of the store and said, 6 feet, right? Because I don't want to get that shit. Because I know more people than just you that have had it, Hal. and Joe, right? Like, I've got a lot of people I know who have had this thing, and some of them have not fared so well. So not everyone who took great offense to Governor Newsom's hypocrisy did so because they felt that they wanted to go out. It was more of, oh my God, this is insanely dangerous because now this is reinforcing the anti-maskers. They won't take it seriously because our top governing official obviously is not. That's why I got, peeved about him going out, that and the taxpayers' money when we're like all struggling here. So yeah, that's my added piece.
Actually, I would pose a question too. Do we know when this recall campaign is coming to an end? I mean, when they're going to get their signature gathering is finished? Because technically speaking,
they are over the halfway point, and they still have a few months to gather signatures, and then there's, I believe, 60 or 90 days, and then boom, it's a real short period after that.
The question comes in. It's one of those. We should probably. We won't have candidates, or technically any candidates, until after they complete their signature gathering. I mean, technically, right now it's a
lot of them will come out of the woodwork once it's
a proposed issue.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's a proposed issue rather than a formal campaign. They have the campaign is a signature gathering, as our initiative is. Commenting on their signature gathering, we would likely be best off to wait until they're completed, and it actually is an issue before we proceed.
Agree.
Yeah, and that was the purpose of this talk, is that there might be a few people who have poked their heads out so far, but ultimately that's correct, that most of the people who will put their feet in the ring will not do so until this thing has gathered the signatures and is, you know, a guarantee.
Yes.
That being said, we want to have our plan all formulated and ready to go and be on the same page, because this thing really does seem like it's been out for less time than ours has, and it has gained more signatures than what we need for ours to go up for vote.
Yes. Not just
Okay.
not disagreeing with you substance or on substance. It's a matter of form. I can ask Marcus this, but I can probably answer before I do. We probably won't. It's like we would probably get more media once we have signatures. Once we have the signatures than we would prior to. As it sits right now, we're both in process. Once it's like it's like having a debate before there's a campaign is possibly putting the cart before the horse.
Well, yeah, and we're not saying we're going to host a debate tomorrow between all of the people who wish to run for the recall race. That would make no sense. That is correct.
Right.
That is why we are not proposing that. What we're proposing is get everything formulated and together between ourselves, so that when the time comes, because, you know, when you look at the trend, it really seems like this thing is gonna happen. Whether Gavin Newsom retains his seat, whole other thing I'm not talking about. But the race, I think, will happen, because there are enough people like myself who are just like, dude, this is dangerous and yada yada, right? It's not a hate thing. It's just like John said, you know, there's an irresponsibility. And why does Yes California and CIM have any sort of care in the world about this? Because this is California's top elected official position that we're talking about here.
Does
It's in
CIM have a
jeopardy.
position on
And
this?
well, no, this is what this discussion is for, is because Hannah asked in the question or in the chat of, you know, has anyone given a reason why we would host this debate, right?
Right.
And I think it matters to CIM because we are all about California issues and having strong California leadership to take care of our California issues. We don't want the same old corporate autocrats. We want Californians who care about California, right?
Well,
Stuff like that. So it only makes sense for us to pay attention to this and to actually give a damn. And when you look at the trend and pay attention, it looks like there will at least be a race. And so if we have it ready so that, boom, this thing's finalized, oh my God, they're going to recall the governor of California. And 20 minutes later, Yes California and CIM and IC and all of the branches of CIM are all coming together, making a joint statement saying we are going to host a digital, therefore safe from COVID, digital debate platform that will be fair and equal for all candidates, all registered candidates, right? No one gets, played hard. No one gets played soft.
Again, I see from an IC standpoint, I wouldn't necessarily oppose allowing for a debate or a discussion on this. But Hannah's pointed out in the chat too. There's 1,000 issues that we could get involved in. We're going to have to pick. We're going to need to pick our battles. The logic here is that under most categories, this does not fall within our purview. It's nothing we want. It's something that we wouldn't necessarily want to touch. This is almost pure state politics. Almost pure state politics. I mean, it's just, butt hurt one party over at another. It's largely where this is coming from. From a standpoint of legitimacy for the movement, and from a standpoint of equal time, then that would be the only window that I would see. That's the only window that I see as logical on this. This is not like, go away. This is not like human rights violations or what have you. I mean, this is basically pure what amounts to current politics. I also agree with Hannah. This thing's gonna. I believe. Jason, I'm sorry, but I disagree with you on this one too. If it does get to the ballots, I believe it's going to go down in flames. I mean, it's like I believe the numbers would be insurmountable. Californians notoriously hate their governor. At least some do, and they're very vocal. They're always very vocal about it. It wasn't long ago that we were hating Jerry Brown. It wasn't long ago we were hating Governor Schwarzenegger. It wasn't long ago we were hating Pete Wilson. It wasn't long ago, it's like every governor of California is hated. And I was actually discussing this with ICI. They're looking to put an article out on it. And the article goes like this. Yeah, well, when the California state government actually works and does its job, it's just a bunch of guys basically up in Sacramento doing accounting work. It's hardly newsworthy. The only time you're ever going to hear anything about your governor or you're going to hear anything about a state rep is when they do something shady or stupid. So, because they're not involved in their 24/7 news cycle. Today they voted on a school funding bill. You'd have to be pretty wonky to be involved in that, or to be up on what they're doing. Californians notoriously hate their government. They notoriously hate their governor. They notoriously hate their representatives. They notoriously hate their city. They hate all of this stuff. It's all crooks and liars and what have you, and then they keep reelecting the same people. We need to be careful. It's like if we're getting involved in just pure politics here, if this is just pure politics, then the risk reward on this is small. So it doesn't have a lot of merit. Done.
Okay. Let's end it there. I understand there's a variety of opinions. We have 3 more intense debates to get to, so need to get to those. Thank you all for sharing your opinion. Yes, California is looking at this. We're not decided. I absolutely agree. Hard questions. So I'm going to get started packaging this together in case we want to. Not saying I'm pulling the trigger. You want hard questions to them? Send them to me. I'll start compiling it, and I absolutely agree with hard questions. Just him getting homework together. And I would like to nominate Hannah, if this happens, to come and speak on why it shouldn't even happen at all. And she would go first before we even get to the debate. I'll leave it there. We got other stuff to get to. Okay, moving on. Next topic is, there is 1 million people in California of Iranian or Persian heritage. And while they left Iran during the Ayatollah, they began to notice something in the last couple of years called, it really looks like America hates all Iranian people and constantly wants to pick on them. So some people go, well, the 1 million people of Californians hate the Ayatollah and don't want a religious theocracy and would never support that. And that's true. But they also feel America likes picking on Iran, and that started with George W. Bush. And so I've talked to Farhad Khorsani. I've talked to Kambiz Mostafizadeh. I've talked to Majid, a couple different Persian contacts. They're like, yeah, we don't want a theocracy. Yeah, we love democracy, but we're worried that America has some big target on Iran and all Iranians are bad people and need to all be killed and they're all spies and they're all evil. And we notice America keeps thinking like that. And that gets back to us. 10 years ago, Farhad told me, people didn't think I was a spy no matter what I did. Now I'm trying to have an American Iranian soccer league. I'm a secret Persian spy. And I go, wow, Farhad, what's that like to be called a foreign spy with no proof? I have no fucking clue. Huh. So they are interested in this. One of the things that seemed to appeal to them was the idea of removal of sanctions. So there were harsh sanctions. Obama made the nuclear deal. The sanctions were reduced, but then Trump upped them back up. Those sanctions have not been brought back down. So there is no nuclear deal and the sanctions are higher. So I brought this up to a couple of you, about 6 or 7. You seemed positive with the idea. I also talked to Farhad. He said he totally backs it and would, and the dude is a known person in the Persian community of 1 million in LA and could absolutely get anything we do piped into that community. They are wealthy, educated, and politically aware. So the idea would be, how does the movement feel about, we have something, not saying the wording is done, something, okay, relax, on, as Californians, how do you feel about reducing the sanctions or removing the sanctions and something like that? He thinks that's something that 1 million people in California would be interested in. And if we did it, they would take note of Calexit and they would ask questions. And Farhad thinks a good amount of them would actually join. Farhad will be here next Sunday. I tried to invite him to this one. He couldn't make it. He'll be here next Sunday. But he himself watched a couple of videos on Calexit and then joined. I've never met him before in my life. He called me going, I saw your videos. I'm all the way in. And he goes, dude, other people will be too. And I'm the kind of guy they would listen to and I can get this in. But you as a movement would have to say, we as Californians think this is to do. How do people feel about the idea of some sort of something, initiative, petition, something on, would Californians support the removal, reduction of sanctions? Back to the Obama era, some people said they don't like the use of the word Obama's name or Trump. A general reduction of sanctions provided Iran goes to reduce the nuclear deal. Let's go to Hannah first, and then we'll go from there.
First, I'd like to speak in reminding you that, you know, as a Japanese American person, you know, it's like, you know, you're always thinking about Executive Order 9066 and the internment, you know, which was driven by United States foreign policy decisions, you know, conflicts between the United States and Japan in the 1940s, and it all down to Japanese American people. And I totally understand that. There was like, you know, you couldn't attack the Japs when they were over in the Pacific, but you could always go after, you know, Mr. Honda-san, you know, down the street, right? And I think that, so I was just proposing that, what about creating a California Iranian Friendship Committee? Where, you know, where we would be expressing ourselves as friends and we want to be friends with Iran. You know, and you could be about how we support, we don't have to endorse, and I think we definitely shouldn't endorse the Indian form of government, including even the fundamentals of it, like having a supreme religious leader and all that kind of stuff. But we can say that we want peace. We want, you know, we want a nuclear-free Iran. You know, we don't want a war to break out in the Pacific, in the Persian Gulf. Did you notice, by the way, this all got really excited when because Pompeo went over to speak with the Saudi Arabians, because the Saudi Arabians government doesn't necessarily want peace with Iran. So I think that's how I would present it. I propose to you is to say California Iranian Peace Committee, and let's all join it.
I need to ask you for a favor. I have to go for 5 minutes and say hello to my niece for her birthday. I will be right back. Everybody, Hal, if you could let everybody talk for a few minutes, I'll be right back in 5. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be back for the second half of the discussion. I just need 5 minutes. Hal, if you could lead, everybody gets their minute 2 of what do they think, hate it, love it, whatever. Thank you, brother. I'll be right back in 5 minutes, people. I'm not gone.
Happy birthday, kiddo.
All right.
Thank you. I'll tell my niece that.
All right, everyone. Daniel, you are the next in the rotation after Hannah from my perspective of where the windows sit. So if you have something to say.
Yeah, just quickly, I don't see anything wrong with, we were kind of discussing this earlier, but the only thing I see wrong with it is the terminology that we use. And Marcus kind of came out with the, we're pro the Obama era of, the treaty and everything like that. I don't like to use that term anymore. I would like to stay away from, administrations or anything like that. But to say that Californians as a whole do support peace, and that we were better off when we had these measures, and people, the scientists could go in and check, the atomic capabilities, and the world, Europe felt safer. We felt safer than we do now, with the aggravating situation. So I would kind of put it in that way, that Californians, because of our peaceful values, really are all for less sanctions on Iran if they're going to come into a treaty where we can, where neutral scientists could come in and make sure everything was like it was before when we had the treaty. So that's the way I would kind of frame it. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Daniel. Darren, you're up next on the circle.
Yeah, I kind of feel like with Dan, the email that Marcus sent out, he had some kind of language about like we support reducing the sanctions to the level of Obama era sanctions, and kind of Obama's name and the fact that, it's kind of like saying, well, we still want sanctions, we just want less sanctions. It's like, maybe, I mean, that's kind of problematic, that wording from my point of view a little bit. Yeah, so I think it should be more general. We don't support the current policy, and we support measures towards peace, and more general language like that, instead of, because it's almost like when you're saying we support Obama era sanctions, it's like we saying, well, we're kind of, we want some kind of, as soon as you start saying you want some kind of sanctions, you're kind of opening because sanctions in themselves are problematic. So that's just kind of so that's.
I would ask if we use the term Obama era or Obama era style sanctions or something to that effect, or if we say, is it the level of sanctions? I'd ask, is the level of sanctions, or is it
is
it the language, or is the language in the name?
I think just when you start saying, we support this level of sanction, you've kind of opened up the whole debate about how much sanctions is the right amount, and then that's kind of open to interpretation. I think it's just we support more dialogue, we support peace, we support that kind of direction. I don't, if that makes sense.
Actually, Darren, that made very good sense. Hang on, Daniel. I'm going to go around the horn first.
Good.
Then open up, if I may. Jason, you're next on the hit parade.
Okay, so I believe it is called the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Pact or Treaty or something like that. And what it was, this Obama era thing, right? What it was an agreement with most of the first world, that Iran, that they will not pursue nuclear technologies in exchange for lifting of sanctions gradually, and that as this goes, the longer the way it's built is that the longer they continue to be like, yeah, we don't need nuclear stuff, the less and less sanctions they have on their country from around the entire world, meaning their economy benefits greatly and the people are no longer hardcore suffering. So the thing with the people is that they really do support this. They're not really all that hell-bent on nuclear holocaust, right? They only pursue the nuclear stuff as straight up just a bargaining chip. Like, some nuclear holders say, oh, it's just a bargaining chip, but then they are constantly barking and hovering their finger over that button. So at that point, it's a strong arm chip. But for the people of Iran, it really has just been a hardcore bargaining chip. Hey, you all don't want us to do this. Like California, right? Hannah's got the, we can use California independence as our bargaining chip with the federal government of the U.S. It's the same thing. Iran's bargaining chip with the governments of the world. Hey, you don't want us to pursue this? Then back off and, help us out a little, maybe. Be a little friendlier, right? And so my suggestion would be that we basically just make this thing kind of like how we've got the Calexit initiative currently, where it's asking 2 questions, right? Just a quick, simple, hey, 2 little questions. Do you support the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Act of yada yada as it was implemented in this year, right? Its last effective year before it got gutted by Trump. The second question would be, do you support California operating under those treaty terms? Not federal government, has nothing to do with federal government. It's not American politics. Just, do you support California, right? So like our government and, the Green Deal thing, you've got the environmental global summit thing that California attended. You've got, the one that Brown attended over in Moscow, right? Like California acts on it. So we've got agreements made between California and Scotland, right? That are very specifically Scotland and California. It has nothing to do with either of our overlords. So we could legitimately decide to push our government to act in this way on our behalf as the people, as long as we can show that there is mandate for it, which is what would be done by asking these 2 questions. And if they get enough, like simple majority, 51%, right? That's mandate. That would show the people of Iran that, oh yeah, no, it's true what, the one stereotype of California is true. We're a bunch of peace-loving, hippy-dippy tree hugger whatevers.
Thank you, Jason. Joe Payne, you're on. You're up if you have comments.
I've been out of the loop for like the last month, so I'm not even going to comment on any of this.
I totally understand. I'll move on for now. If you have any further, I'll open it up at the end of the discussion. Sue Hirsch.
Hey, I'm going to circle back to something I heard about sanctions. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes, very well.
Okay. It becomes not just semantics, so bear with me. If we start taking the focus off of sanctions and start creating other types of trade and treaties, agreements, and non-governmental organization workings with these other countries, then the focus is going to be more on those things rather than on they're rather than them thinking, okay, let's make these weapons in secret, because they're going to be invested here at that point once we've made treaties with them and other trade agreements. And they're not going to fire weapons at a place where they have something invested. That was just a quick thought. Excuse me for having to double back to that. But
Oh no, that's exactly.
it's
I was
it's something that I actually stole from Marcus. The thought itself. I actually stole it from Marcus. He said something similar to me ages and ages and ages ago when we first met. And it just stuck with me forever.
no
So,
that there is
thank you, Guru Marcus. I'll shut up now.
Sue, thank you. No, there is a point here that goes there, and to define it a little bit for the discussion, from where I sit, there are three things here. The first one is, of course, inclusion, that ever so important California value. Inclusion of Iranian people as far as being Californians go. A discussion that goes, well, should we include these people as Californians? Is like, honestly, that should take us back a little bit. It's like, we don't, just because my parents came from the East and someone else's parents came from the South or from across the sea doesn't make them less Californians. Everybody who is a Californian is a Californian. Regardless of where your parents came from, regardless of what religion they practiced, or the culture they bring, or the cultural aspects they bring to California. So I don't see this as even a question. Number two, when it comes to restoring sanctions, U.S. style sanctions, it's like I'm not in favor of basically restoring U.S. style anything. I mean, the sanctions. Does California as an independent nation have a reason to have sanctions? Shouldn't we have our own policy? Shouldn't we have our own policy? Can we lead with carrots instead of sticks?
You're onto something huge there. That two-part question thing that I had said earlier, change it to what you just said. Instead of, do we agree with the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Act as it was enacted? What if we just ask the people of California,
right,
do you agree that we should not have any sanctions based on, American federal system or whatever?
Right. Why should we lead with sanctions?
Yeah. Like if California ever decides to have sanctions on something, it's going to be California California deciding that,
Bingo.
not based on the Fed. I like it.
Bingo.
Me
Third,
too.
And see, that's what this discussion's for.
nuclear non-proliferation. California is very much I would think California would be very much in favor of this as a negotiator with the global community. California is not an imperial power. So, it's like, do we punish, as a nation who has not experienced anything bad from Iran or Iraq or anywhere else in the world, should we punish them preemptively? Should we punish preemptively? Or should we enter into with the global community, to work towards, any nuclear non-proliferation, like we would environmental protection or international trade, all of which are very important to California. Hello, 5th largest economy in the world. Do they got people over there in Iran that buy stuff? Do they like garlic? Video games? Do they like computers? I don't mean to trivialize the subject, but it's like, we're not an imperial power. Working towards non-nuclear proliferation seems logical for us because hopefully we won't be doing it either. God, I hope. Number two, it's like America's relationship with Iran doesn't necessarily have to dictate ours. Carrots and sticks, but let's lead with carrots. Can we trade first? And see if we can find common ground first? Maybe not fail immediately out of the gate. And number three, inclusion. Hello, human beings. We're going to we live in a global community. California wants to be a shining example of that, of inclusion in a global community. We want to fulfill the promise that America failed on. All people are created equal. So the question of where you come from or whether you can be accepted or not should not be a question. And now I'm going to mute myself and get off my soapbox.
That's my opinion. Who hasn't been able to speak at all? Zorro? We'll make sure everybody gets a chance. Matt, you haven't had a chance to speak at all? Okay, Matt, unmute yourself.
Thank you. And thank you very, very much. On just eliminating this to, I don't think we should just limit this to California-Iranian efforts. After all, the Soviet Union had something called the Patrice Lumumba International Friendship Society, which certainly was not limited to friendship with a single country. And come to think of it, California gave birth to the greatest example of that at the end of World War II in San Francisco. We birthed the United Nations here, and we can invite it to return here. Okay. Sanctions? Sanctions are what fueled the rise of militarism in Japan, resulting in the attack on Pearl Harbor. Do we want to make the same mistake again? Okay. So we can offer our good offices again, as you know, as we did when we founded the United Nations here, to help to resolve these disputes and keep offering those good offices. Nuclear non-proliferation. Can smaller countries defend themselves without resort to weapons of mass destruction? Okay, maybe it's problematic for the larger countries like the United States, China, and Russia, but Iran, really? North Korea, really? California, really? Do we need weapons of mass destruction to defend ourselves? I think not. I think it's been shown that we don't have to resort to that. And I think we can work in conjunction with smaller countries to ensure that their defense needs are met without resort to weapons of mass destruction. It's been proven that you don't have to do that. Okay? The Iranians abandoned it when the Iraqi regime was overthrown. The Iraqis themselves had already abandoned their nuclear program when at the end of the first Gulf War. Venezuela, they had a nuclear reactor program. Then a little something happened in Fukushima, and they immediately suspended all further development of any kind. The Iranians haven't, but yeah, we can prove to the world that we can defend ourselves without, and smaller countries, smaller than us, can defend themselves without resort. And that sanctions, again, are counterproductive. Unless you want to have a repeat of Pearl Harbor somehow, okay? But yeah, we can invite the UN back to San Francisco. That would be an outstanding contribution to the peace we all seek, and that they're going to be speaking about on the Capitol steps come Inauguration Day. We can do that.
Thanks, Matt. All right. More comments on the idea of a initiative specifically about reduction of sanctions somehow to Iran. Hannah.
I just want to say, I'm not reading my comments, but I think people are really getting off on, getting way off on the topic. The concern has to be the Iranians who live in California. One. The concern is that tensions between the United States, between the government of the United States and the government of Iran, are rebounding upon the people, the Iranians in California. Two. And so therefore, it seems to make you don't need anything more than just a request for lessening of tension, and of course a denunciation of any hostility towards people of Iran, people of Iranian descent who are living in California because of some political matters that don't concern any of us. And I was saying that I know the Japanese American Citizens League has stepped up for Islamic people as a class many times because, it's the old, I hate to use the analogy, frankly, but you know how if you're Jewish, you always think about the Holocaust? Well, if you're Japanese American, you always think about the internment. My generation, we knew the people who were actually in the camps. So I'm kind of like that last step. After me, it becomes just history on a page. And so for me, I'm very passionate about this. You always look at it and you see, this is where this could lead to. I will close by reminding you that it was Michelle Malkin, who I have to point out is a Filipino American, who wrote a book called In Defense of Internment, where she decided to write her own rewrite history in order to justify hostility against Japanese Americans, by hostility against Arab Americans. So I point to you that I think this is our position. We should always be limited in our scope, but the scope is, within our own community. Because I remember, I'm well aware of the fact that I live next to Orange County, and Orange County is chock full of, that's a major ethnic group in that group, right? And a lot of those people, of course, have no love for the Iranian government. That's why they're in the United States. Let's not forget. So anyways, I think Farhad is great. Farhad is great, but I think he'll agree with me that what we need to do is make it very clear that there should be less tension with the United States And as far if we had to put any language, we don't need any language on sanctions. We don't need to find anything, maybe other thing more than remaining consistent with the international community in keeping the Middle East nuclear free. And I will end that concept by reminding you of the nuclear free. How many of you know about the nuclear free Pacific movement? You know about that one? No, I know. Yeah, I'm going to say this one. Do you know what that one, guys? It's a movement in the Pacific Ocean, Pacific people. And they have a great slogan. I love it, which says, if it's safe, test it in Paris. Store it in Washington.
Yep.
But keep my Pacific nuclear free. And we are a Pacific state.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
You're muted, Marcus.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the next subject. Farhad will be here next Sunday. Yes, we would work with Farhad, Darren, on the framing of the question. And just for everybody's info, all of the Persians that I've talked to here, it is the reduction of sanctions that gets them paying attention. That's the thing they care about. That's the thing they talk about. No, they don't want to be part of the Ayatollah's government, but they think that people in Iran are dying because of the sanctions, and there's a lot of evidence to that. And so that's what gets them paying attention. If you'd like to be more involved in that, email me. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. We have two somewhat discussion topics, and then I'll cover the media. I'll repaste them. So the first topic is we need to refile the initiative. I got a hold of the appropriate person with the secretary, the SOS office in the California government. I pointed out that the California government had already allowed 3 different extensions, one of which was for the recall and 2 were for the exact initiative process that we used. All 3 were granted an extension of about 60 to 100 days. We have that information. I got a hold of the right person, said, hey, may we have an extension too? And he said, you got to go to court. I ain't doing nothing for you. So it was very rough, I have to say, and inconsiderate. I mean, there was nothing about, hey, sorry you spent $200 and we've shut down your ability to do it, the same government. Nothing like that. Yeah, you got to do it. You got to go to court. So I've been asking a lot of people for help. Hannah gave me a lot of counseling. Jason has also found out the detailed process. It's in the chat room right there. He found the exact correct way on who exactly to file a petition to in order to get relief. The question is, I'm not a lawyer. I've never done this before. Can a non-lawyer do this? Does it have to be a lawyer? Maybe it can be a citizen. Maybe it has to be a lawyer. How do you do it anyways? I'm learning. I just saw how to do this 24 hours ago, so trying to figure it out, but I'll get to you in a second, Hannah.
Can I answer that?
Okay, so take a look at that document. That's how we would do it. If anybody wants to jump in and help me, I ain't acting like I know how to do this. Okay, so I've been asking for 2 months. Jump in. And we had somebody come out here and say, hey, I'm with the group and we got a bunch of lawyers. I reached out to him, no help. Also reached out to Coyote, no help. So been asking for help. All the lawyers, all the smart people, nothing. Hannah helped walk me through, and then Jason stepped up and took a lot of effort on it. But someone's got to figure out how to do this. And it costs about $400 to make it happen. And I don't even know if it'd be a yes then. But if we don't get this, the initiative's up around mid-February, maybe early March. If we do get this, we're able to push it out another 6 months. So the initiative is something that gives us purpose and meaning. I'm not saying all of the other projects aren't awesome. They are. But the initiative is the thing that people go, are you doing something? What do I sign? It's the thing that the public pays attention to. It's the thing that Hal, and then when they are allowed to meet the public, they can get them to say, here's a reason for you to stop and talk to me. It's a thing that reporters will even care about. We need videos, we need documentaries, we need to be building alliances, we need embassies. True. And like Hal and I said about a month ago, the backbone should always be this initiative because it just motivates people and gets people paying attention and makes us relevant. We dropped 2K on this. We don't get that extension, we will have to refile. So refile's another $2,000. So do we want to blow 2K? Also, if we don't get this refile, there's a group called IC, and they spent $700 on petitions that will all be thrown in the trash. Hal, is that something you want to do? Burn $700? Also, the professor spent $500 on this. Daniel, you spent about 150. Do you want your money thrown in the garbage? Because that's what's going to happen if we don't get this extension. So this ain't about yes. This is about us all. This is about throwing $100 in the trash and letting it go waste. So jump on in if you need. Hannah, question.
Well, number one, I remind you that there's a basic rule that says that any individual is allowed to represent themselves in court. Okay, just so you know. And the trouble is, the only proponent of this petition is you, Marcus, to my knowledge.
Okay.
So, I mean, for instance, I could I could represent this saying, well, I signed this petition and therefore I have standing. But I don't have a standing as strong as Marcus does because he's the petitioner.
I'll file the paperwork. I just want someone to tell me what to do.
Yeah, and
step
I
by
can't
step.
represent you in court either.
And
So
none of
I
the other lawyers in IC are going
suppose,
to either.
you know, and it would be really easy for the judge to say either, Hannah, you're practicing law, or, you know, I think I'm gonna be okay by saying, as a petitioner, since I signed the petition, I have standing, at least the sense of I'm representing my own interests and therefore not representing your interests. Do you see what I'm saying here, guys?
Sure.
So
would it make a difference that my signature personally is on the piece of paper that was filed in that office, along with Marcus's signature up there, as well as others? My signature was on there too.
No, no.
Well, we still got to go to court.
Matter.
So we got to, Jason, we have to go to court, it seems. So we have to file a petition for writ of mandamus.
I'm the only
and that's the full
petitioner
term, petition for
recognized
writ
by
of
the California
mandamus.
government, so it has to be me.
Well, maybe not. I'm just saying is that
Not according to the
maybe we can
initiatives
go to
office of the
court.
California government and the Attorney General.
Okay. Next question: is there any possibility for adding an individual to the petitioner as an official petition? I mean, as an individual as an additional individual petitioner. Probably not, but that's the other thing. John says the individual has a full for an attorney, though. No,
and then,
yeah, I had said that, John, that I felt Marcus. No offense, Marcus, but I mean, I know I'd be personally right now if I had to go to court, feeling pretty nervous myself, because it's not something I've done before. You've never done it, and you didn't go to law school. So, you know, I know that you may think I can go do this, but I'm just saying you're going to, you know, if the judge is going to ask you one question, you're going to find yourself intimidated.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
Question?
That's why I am totally willing to go with him. I've represented myself in court successfully more than once, and I know how to speak with judges.
Yeah, but you won't be allowed to speak. That's my point.
Well, that being said, I don't get nervous going to court. I don't get nervous in front of judges. That's the point.
Fine, but I'm
I
still
would
saying
be totally willing to accompany Marcus through this. And so far, it kind of seems like I've been one of the very few people really accompanying him through it thus far.
No, you understand the reason why
I really need is to have the legal professional who knows enough, who can tell us, I don't think that really you're going to need Marcus. I don't think you're going to need attorney. I don't think you're going to need a team of attorneys, right? Because as we saw in the document I sent you, one of the stipulations includes that they must deal with this in a very, very short time frame. So it's not going to be some big, it's going to be like a quick, oh, hey, you filed this paper, very formal, but very informal at the same time. It's not like going on trial for having murdered someone or hitting a kid with your car.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. I'm sorry, everybody. We have about 25 minutes and about 2 more sections to cover. So I'm going to thank you, Jason. Thank you, Hannah.
Hannah, Marcus, here's the deal. Okay, I could draft.
I
you
have
the
to leave at
document.
3. Hope I don't get cut off.
I can drop the document. Can you give me a copy of the petition that was filed by the other parties, and I can just change all the names for you and do it properly?
Thank you. I'll follow up with you afterwards.
Because I think I'm the only person who can do it. I thought you could get an attorney maybe who could just, like I said, one of IC's many attorneys supposedly who are involving. They'd be great people to do it because they got the legal, they have the license and they can practice. But I won't be an authorized practice from law for me to say, here's the document. Now you go to the judge and best luck.
Thank you. So we're going to end this segment. Appreciate everybody's conversation. I'm going to send out the link that Jason found to everybody. I'm asking everybody for help. I'm asking everybody to jump in. And I'm saying you should at least be spending some time talking to me about this just to show you care. Or we're talking about hundreds of dollars being thrown down the trash. So jump on in. Now's the time. This is me saying, everybody jump on in. All lawyers, everybody jump in. I'll leave it there. Send out the conversation. We'll move on to the next topic. The next one was a next initiative. So if we can refile this, great. It would push it out a couple months. If we can't refile it, we'll have to file a new initiative. Coyote said that he would be willing to talk with me about that. Would anybody like to be involved in the discussion for the creation of a next initiative?
I would.
Okay. This is me offering. I'm going to be starting a conversation what the next initiative is with Coyote. When we launched this one, many people were coming out going, I wasn't involved. Yeah, I didn't get my. So this is me saying, jump on in. Here's the conversation. This is your term to get involved. And one person said yes. So that's a little interesting because initially everybody was like, you didn't ask me. And now when it's like, you want to get involved, one person jump. Okay.
Well, this
I
is a
wanna
really
be
small
involved.
group, so maybe we should make a press release about it, and we can use the COVID excuse as a reason why we weren't able to gather the signatures.
Yeah, if we can't get the extension, we're going to have to do that. We wanted to do with the press release, and I talked to Hal and I talked to Jason and a couple other people about this, and Hannah. You're absolutely right, John. So if we can get the extension, we want to say, great, we got an extension. If we can't get the extension, we want to say these monsters, how unfair and undemocracy they would. Hannah?
Quick question. I thought that we're highly likely to just present the same initiative if we do bring another initiative forward.
We are, but Coyote wanted to have a discussion. And Hal?
Oh, actually, per Marcus's request, I kind of walked this through IC, and I walked it through ICI as well with Coyote. The changes being made to it would not be what they would be looking at is basically wording it, looking at what they could leave out of it so that we could shorten it. One of the things that was expressed as a desire was the ability to shorten it enough that we could put it on an 8.5 by 11 so we could do it online. They would be willing to go over it to work on the mechanics of it more, but the substance of it would be the substance of the initiative would basically be done in accordance with everybody's desires. It's a concept. The idea would be consensus. Having said that, it's like my part in that discussion was more, I'm not entirely willing to shelve the one we have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely willing to shelve the one we have just so we can move on to the next one. It's like, to my way of thinking, that's counterproductive for the sake of getting people involved who didn't get on the train the first time around. It's like, okay, so we're gonna throw away whatever efforts we have when we still have, you know, we still it's kind of like bailing out of a perfectly good airplane. For the discussion of the next initiative, ICI ICI's discussion point would be to the 2 points that they would make is they would want to help us achieve consensus across the CIM, and to help word it in a manner and to shape it in a manner that it would be able to be shorter, easier to get printed on an 8.5 by 11, easier to do it online, etc., etc., etc. The mechanics of it more than anything else.
Yeah, it's really just to back up what Hal said. It's that we shouldn't have, I love this initiative, but we should have 15 really good ideas. I'm sorry, Dan?
Just again, a word of caution whenever ICI or IC board is involved is we will not have this initiative out till a year from now if they get involved. I'm just saying, from past experience, just one little change or two in IC can count as months of debate. I mean, Hal knows this. I mean, he deals with them just more than I do and stuff, but I've dealt with him too. And Shankar knows this. So I don't mind ICI or anybody coming in, but what I mind is that for a few changes, that it delays the process when we have a perfectly fine initiative right now that we can run through. If it's gonna take, if it's gonna delay us like by a few months because they're not getting everything done, then that's where I'm kind of skeptical about, having other, whether it's IC or other organization, they're not going to do it in a prompt manner. Then it's the same thing as the website, as everything else, and we're just wasting time after a while.
So we're not going to do, let me address that right now. I've already worked it out with Hal. We have consensus amongst the people that are here in the movement. We're a permanent signature gathering organization. There will not be a gap.
Okay.
So we're either going to get the refile, and Hannah, I love you. I love you, Hannah. I will be calling you about the file. We're going to give everything we got to get that extension. And if we don't, we're just going to refile. So there's not going to be oh, wait a month for me. I'm still tough shit. We're moving on. You were told ahead of time. And I've been telling Dave for a month and a half. I'm sorry, Coyote. I apologize. I don't mean anything against the LGBTQ community. I apologize. I'm used to him being called Dave. My apologies. Coyote has been informed, and everybody, for a month before now. Let's get started. So I just got a response from him now. So we ain't waiting for nobody. We're moving. If they want to be in, great. Love it. Let's have consensus, like Hal taught me. Let's get everybody to buy into this. Wouldn't it be super mega awesome if everybody was like, I have no reason to oppose that initiative. I will be for it. And wouldn't it be great if people actually put money in? I mean, Dan, you put money in, but IC never did. I love IC. I love all the activists, but let's be honest. I was told a couple times IC was going to put money in. They never did. Dan, you're the only person in IC did. And I remember what you said. This is from me, Dan. I don't know what IC's doing. Well, they never came through. That's not a slam on Shankar or Hal. I love you guys. But this next initiative is going to be about, let's get everybody involved. Let's try to get consensus. But if you ain't paying and you ain't jumping in, we ain't really going to be circling back around to see what you think or feel.
We need hundreds of people. We need hundreds of people to be gathering signatures all over California. We need to be training people how to gather signatures and training them on the wording of the initiative. We can extend till the cows come home, but if we don't have a huge force of people out there gathering signatures, then we're spinning our wheels. So I don't really give a shit about what any individual thinks about this initiative. What I'd like to see is us onboarding hundreds, if not thousands of people to help us gather these signatures. We need over 500,000 signatures. The 10 of us aren't going to be able to do it, no matter how many signatures we individually gather. It's like it's the same thing again and again and again and again. We're trying to use the system that we're trying to distance ourselves from to authorize our our effort. It's like, you know, it's like you're in prison and asking your warden to let you out. It's like, what the hell, man? We got to do something different. Obviously, what we're doing isn't working.
We're pursuing multiple paths, like reaching out to other people, making videos, making documentaries, and we're pursuing every project out there. It's just that when we looked at it, it was, you know, what is the thing that we could have that everybody could get involved in doing? You know, somebody calls in, says, I want in. Signing a petition and passing it around seemed to be a quick activity that got them motivated. It's also something the media excites. Every critique you're mentioning, John, you're absolutely correct, 100%. I'm just saying it's still a very solid thing that motivates people, motivates the media, gives everybody something to do, and it has a great benefit for that. Also, if we go viral, like you were talking about, John, I mean, what happens if we get 50,000 people? And we need to be ready for that in case it happens. The initiative would be there. You know, let's say tomorrow, Washington, D.C., God forbid, is blown up by Donald Trump, and he goes, I'm a dictator for life. Ha 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 ha. People would be ready to sign that initiative. We don't have it ready. We lost everything. You do not have an initiative up. When the news starts talking about it, you lost all those people. There is no, everybody's aware, hey folks, we'll get the initiative to you in 2 weeks. They don't give a fuck. They're gone. Played that game. So everything you're saying, totally right, John. Totally, totally, totally. I just think it's still a good thing to do. I will point out though, and I went over this a lot, and I learned this from Shankar. The stem cell initiative qualified through grassroots organizing online. The stem cell initiative got all the signatures they needed through online organizing. They did not have massive money. They did not get there with signature gatherers who were paid. They got there through word of mouth, and they got the signatures. The Recall Gavin Newsom petition has also blown up. Now, maybe it won't qualify, but I got to tell you, they're all over the news. So, and they too were primarily a grassroots funded, not paid signature gathering effort. So we have two examples in the last year where an initiative didn't qualify, maybe it will, but they got on Time Magazine, the New York Times, Washington Post, Newsweek. I mean, the recall thing's covered everywhere. Whether you like it or not, the New York Times and Washington Post did front page articles on it. So they're getting guaranteed publicity. Additionally, stem cell research qualified. I do think we can go really far. Obviously, we have a lot of work to do. Obviously, we have a lot of gaps. But that was also why we thought, at least Hal and I did, let's keep signature gathering here so that everybody does get trained and qualified. We always launch the initiative and then we start training, takes forever. We've never had a future where everybody in the movement was doing what you're saying, John. They all knew how to get signatures and they were all getting out there. We always lose time getting training. If we always have a signature up, we're like a permanently ready organization. And I do believe there will be a moment, or many of them, where the newspaper says something horrible and Californians lose it. And they will look for something right then.
Yeah, and then
Not waiting.
they can go to Gilded and be onboarded and find a copy of the petition that they can print and learn how to get it signed and how to submit it so that it's counted and all of that. And we have 12 minutes until that onboarding session begins. And it took me almost that amount of time to download the app that we're using for the call this afternoon and to set up an account. It's free, but it does take about 10 minutes to get set up. So
I will repost it.
I just wanted to point out real quick, also, let's not forget that that's exactly what Shankar and Hal were trying to do with the chapters. when we got hit with Corona virus, and that put a huge damper because Shankar was taking off really well with those chapters, and those aren't dead either. But once we couldn't go out there in person, that we took a big hit on that. So that's super important to have the initiative, because we can't even go out there, at least to have something that's present. And I think keeping the whole organization glued together with this initiative, because we don't have initiative, we're not gathering signatures, we're just like all independent thing. I think the initiative kind of brings us to something in common that we can, adhere to during these hard times until we can go back out there and do the normal stuff. So just give yourselves a pat on the shoulder, guys. I know we're harsh on each other, but we're like we said, we're only 10 of us trying to do the job of 100 people. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
Joe had a question or had a comment.
Yes, I just wanted to put in my 2 cents. A couple of things. One, the current initiative, I think it only makes sense to try to get an extension if we are seriously and truly needing the extension. Meaning, if right now we're not at a certain percentage, maybe we really shouldn't be thinking about getting an extension on this one. Maybe we should look at reality, you guys, and say, maybe we need another kind of initiative. This one just is not going to pass. I don't know what the numbers are. You guys have looked at those, I have not. But I'm saying, I think we need to look at those numbers. Okay, now, moving forward though, on a new initiative, what I would like to do is get all of the organizations together. There's the Facebook group for SIM just passed 350 a couple of days ago. So there's 300 people in there, realistically, about 300 people in there that really want California independence, or are not bots or people that are active on Facebook. Okay, and we can use these people, to say, hey, look, we've got these things going on. We need to get this information to them. Hold on, Mom, I'm on the phone. But we can do this. We've got thousands and thousands and thousands of people in California that want this and are ready to move forward. They just don't know about us. They just don't know what's going on. They don't know that there's an initiative going on. But we can do this, and we need to get all the organizations together to work together to push the new initiative as well. Not just to frame it, but to push it. And I think the only way that it's going to pass is if we have all of that in place ahead of time before the initiative even goes live.
That's why Gilded's so important. One-stop shop.
But I think if we take a good 6 months and all come together, work together, and really hammer out a good framework of an independence framework, I think we can really push it that way. And then you'll have all of these organizations, all of these people that are that have already had a vested interest in this. So of course they want it to pass. Of course they're going to push it. And it's not just a monetary value that they're putting on it. It's people's time and their beliefs in their heart. So it's different. But that's what I want to say. Something to think about. Okay. But as the director of CalPAC, I do want to put together some kind of event that I would like to put all these organizations together in one place, and let's start talking about a new initiative. Let's start talking about what that should be like and start putting the framework together for something new. Whether or not this gets an extension, I think that's something that needs to happen. We all need to kind of look together, look at each other, and look forward in the future and see what we can all help each other out with and kind of work together.
Please make sure there's a CalPAC channel on the Gilded server.
Okay, yeah, can you email me all of that?
It's in the chat. I just posted up the.
Okay.
if everybody looks at the chat right now in Zoom, you have the link to download the application to join the presentation at 3 p.m. In the chat room, all the links to make that happen there.
And just to clarify, the 3 p.m. meeting is for the Way Forward group, but I think all of us would benefit from the information.
I thought it was about the Gilded Server and the app designer.
It is.
Okay.
But it's tailored to the group that hired him, which is the break-off group from the MPP movement. So
Okay.
we're gonna see how the app works, but it's framed through that group.
Okay. Hal, if I have your permission, I'll do the media update and we'll go from there. Okay, please take a look at that meeting. I suggest the app for everybody. Now for the media update. Just to keep everybody aware, Georgia Senate races coming up. Depending on how that goes, you're going to have people thinking that America works or that America's totally failed. So I'm predicting now that the Republicans are going to win it. That will block Biden being able to do anything, and Californians will be radically dismayed and upset when that happens. So I predict that coming up. Also, we also think that there's now 11 senators who are going to do some sort of game with the day they nominate Biden, and that will cause Californians to be upset. So California is Calexit's what Californians turn to when they see America falling down. If the Senate goes Republican, they're going to start saying, well, Biden's not going to do anything progressive. That will trigger them. If the Trump pulls any hijinks on election day, that will trigger them. Those two things are going to be happening within days of each other and coming up within days of now. So get ready for people upset, dismayed. Now, maybe the Democrats win both House Senate seats and they go, oh, we can pursue a progressive agenda. And maybe the gimmicks by Trump and his followers, they last a couple hours and it goes away. Maybe. But if it doesn't, expect people to come to us. Be ready. Also, we have a mass email coming out soon. The holidays really pulled us back. It's a nice video showing all the Californians who signed the initiative after Biden was elected, not against Biden, just still interested in the idea of studying California independence. That'll be coming out. We also have a music video for Calexit. Simha's working on that. That'll be coming out very soon. And also, I would ask everybody to look at the Joe Biden discussion with civil rights leaders. If you haven't heard about this, you should check it out. It's not going away. So it's not really being covered in the news, but if you look at more progressive circles, it's not going away, which tells me it's damning for Biden. They don't want people to see it, and it's only going to keep getting traction. It's the one that I told you about last week where he basically yells at the top civil rights leaders in all of America and tells them, if you don't like who I select for appointments, quote, to hell with you. So yes, he did say to hell to the top 5 civil rights leaders in all of America, and it's live on video, after he interrupted them and kind of talked about how he's cool with Black people and he knows key lingo, and it's just bad, dude. It's just bad. The other thing I would ask you to look for is there's a video now filmed in China, top level Chinese Communist Party official. And I can see from some of you don't know what I'm talking about. That's the point. This is another video that's been around and they are not showing, but it's not going away, which tells me another thing. They don't want people to know. And it's another thing that's going to just be weighing them down. It's basically the top advisor to the Chinese Communist Party saying, hey, Trump's gone. Boy, we couldn't get anything done with Trump. Now we have Biden in, and Biden's part of the, quotes, traditional financial elite, end quote. And since we already own Wall Street, we now own him. And hey, Joe Biden, your son has an investment company that's worth lots of money. How did he get that? Do you know what I mean? So watch the video. He's literally going wink, wink. And the hundreds of Chinese people are laughing at how they run America now. This was not a secret video. This was not leaked. This was out in the open. Top level Chinese Communist Party official. We own your ass now, America. That's what he said to hundreds of Chinese people laughing. I'll leave it there. Thank you, Hal.
All right.
You're muted, Hal.
I think I'm okay now.
Yep.
Okay. We are at 2:59 and getting ready to close this out. For those going to the 3:00 presentation, I'm gonna shut this down now so that we can get that, so that everyone can get there. Final thought for this first conference of 2021 goes like this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm going to say it straight up to you. 2020, the end of 2020 was not the end of anything. 2020 is prologue. I have a feeling that from a Calexit standpoint, this decade is going to roar. And it's like a change in management in Washington changes nothing for what we're doing. Keep the faith, keep up your strength. We're in this for the long haul. That's where I'm ending it. This ends our conference for January 3rd, 2021. I'd like to thank everybody for being here, and I will see everyone soon. Have a pleasant week.
Thanks.
Send me the recording, brother.